Come closer, but not too close, because some places. Notice when you arrive. This is not a story for the careless, not for those who laugh at whispers, or walk paths the elders have abandoned. This is the story of the forgotten shrine. In a village where the wind still carried the voices of ancestors, there lived a boy named Kofi. He was not afraid of the dark, not because he was brave, but because he did not yet understand what lived inside it. In his village, fear was taught early. Children were warned not to wander beyond the last footpath where the forest began to breathe differently. The elders spoke in low tones about a place where the ground remembered things it should not, a shrine long abandoned by men, but never by spirits. They said, "Do not follow the broken path near the silk cotton tree." They said, "If the forest calls your name, you must pretend you did not hear it." But curiosity is a quiet kind of hunger, and Kofi had been starving for it. One evening, as the sun sank slowly into the earth like a dying fire, Kofi stood before that forbidden path. The air felt heavy, like the moment before a storm, but the sky was clear. The trees leaned inward, their branches twisted like fingers pointing the way. For a moment, he hesitated. Then he stepped forward, and the forest went silent. No birds, no wind, no life. Only the sound of his own breathing, growing louder with every step. The deeper he walked, the colder it became. Not the kind of cold that touches your skin, but the kind that settles inside your bones. The kind that makes your thoughts feel watched. The path beneath his feet seemed older than the forest itself, cracked and uneven, as if it had been walked by things that no longer belonged to this world. And then he saw it. The shrine. It stood hidden beneath the shadows, broken and forgotten, or at least that is what it wanted to appear. Vines crawled over its surface like veins, pulsing faintly as though something beneath them still lived. At its center stood a statue, tall, still, faceless, and yet Kofi felt it looking directly at him. Every instinct told him to run. Every story he had ever heard screamed inside his mind. But then a whisper came. Soft, close. Too close. Come closer. Kofi's feet moved before his thoughts could stop them. At the base of the shrine lay old offerings, bones arranged in patterns long forgotten. Beads scattered like remnants of desperate prayers. Dark stains marked the stone, stains that rain had never washed away. Kofi forced a laugh, though his voice trembled. Just stories, he muttered. And then he reached out. The moment his fingers touched the stone, the world broke. The ground beneath him trembled violently, as though something deep below had awakened. The wind returned, not as a breeze, but as a scream that tore through the trees. The vines on the shrine tightened, twisting like living things. And the statue tilted its head. Kofi stumbled backward, his heart slamming against his chest. The silence was gone now, replaced by something far worse. Voices. Not one, not many, but countless. Layered whispers crawling over each other, filling the air, slipping into his ears, his mind, his very thoughts. You have been seen. You have been chosen. Kofi ran. He ran without direction, without thought, crashing through branches that seemed to reach for him. The forest was no longer still. It was alive, angry, shifting. Roots rose from the ground to trip him. Shadows stretched unnaturally, moving in ways that did not match the light. Whisper. And then he realized something that froze him more than fear ever could. Whatever was following him was not behind him. It was not ahead. It was inside his shadow. He did not stop running until the forest spat him out at the edge of the village, just as dawn began to break. The golden light of morning should have brought comfort, should have chased away whatever nightmare he had entered. But something was wrong. No one greeted him. No one called his name. Villagers passed by him as though he were nothing more than air. He reached out, grabbed at them, shouted, but his hands found nothing. His voice made no sound. Panic consumed him. He ran to his home, bursting through the doorway. His mother stood there. Relief flooded his chest. "Mother," he cried, though he could not hear his own voice. She looked at him for a moment, just a moment, and then she turned away, as if he had never been there. Kofi's breath caught in his throat. His chest tightened. Something deep inside him began to unravel. Slowly, trembling, he looked down at the ground. There was no shadow beneath his feet. But behind him, there was one, tall, still watching. That night he did not sleep. He could not. The whispers had followed him, faint at first, then growing louder, clearer, calling him back. Not with force, but with certainty. So when the moon rose high and pale in the sky, Kofi walked back to the forest. Back to the paths. Back to the shrine. This time the forest did not resist him. It welcomed him. The air was no longer cold, it was expectant. And the shrine was no longer broken. It stood whole, restored, alive in a way that made his skin crawl. The vines no longer clung to it, they breathed with it. And the statue now had a face. His face. Kofi staggered backward, his mind fracturing under the weight of what he was seeing. The whispers surrounded him once more, no longer chaotic, but calm. Certain, to be forgotten, they said, is to belong to us. And in that moment, he understood. The shrine does not kill. It replaces. The world does not lose you. It forgets you. Days passed. In the village, life continued as it always had. Children laughed, elders spoke. The wind carried stories once more. But something was missing. Something no one could quite remember. And far beyond the last footpath, past the trees that no longer grow straight, the shrine waited. Patient, hungry, whole, until one day, another child wandered too far. Another curious soul, drawn by a path that should not be walked. And somewhere deep in the forest, a faceless statue waited to remember a new face. So if you ever find yourself standing before a path that feels wrong, if the air grows heavy and the world too quiet, turn back. Do not listen. Do not look, because some places are not abandoned. They are waiting. And once they see you, they do not forget. They make sure the world does.